Let's work. Yo, it's go time, showtime, never backing down time. One shot, yo, make it count, yo. Crunch time, shine time, make this moment my time. Get a grip, yo, ready, set, go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Yeah, it's my time, yo time. Step into the spotlight. Get lit, yo. Let yourself go. Our time, high time. Gotta go big time. This is it, yo. Never take no fight time. Grind time. Take it to the street time. Turn the roof off. Get loco. Game time, win time. We gon' bring it home time. No regrets now. Let it all go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder.
Well, good
Well, that was
evening,
a
y'all.
horribly timed sip.
What? It was a perfectly timed sip, honey.
You create the whole intro and you wait till the last flipping second to be like,
I had to test to see if the coffee's any damn good before I serve it up, and damn, is it hot tonight. All right. Today has been a day, and we got a show for a show, guys. I'm going to tell you, give you a heads up right now. We got a lot of things to talk about. And some of them was kind of shocking.
all righty.
So where do you want to start off with? What started my morning, or what, set me off last night?
Hey, you go.
All right. Let's see. Oh, I don't know. Okay. Where were you on January 28th, 1986, darling?
Possibly at preschool.
Okay.
I am that young.
I know you
really
are
am.
that young.
Like, sorry. That's how it works out.
Well, I had spent the day home because there was a blizzard.
Oh.
So I was watching the TV as the Challenger exploded. For those that do not remember the Challenger, that was literally a very big thing. It was supposed to be one of the first woman-run thing, astronautical space exploration. They had school children.
Well, and she was a school teacher.
Yeah, she was a school teacher.
Yeah. And sorry, I wasn't laughing at the Challenger explosion. I should explain. Brenda made a comment, and it was a little funny.
Right.
Sorry. I read that and laughed, and then thought about, I should explain why.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you got to remember, some people don't remember the comments or don't see the comments because it goes into air.
But if I ever laugh randomly to something that isn't funny,
yeah, it's because
I'm probably reading that comment. Yeah. Because there's a little delay there.
Mm-hmm. So this is the 36th anniversary of the Challenger tragedy. Mm-hmm. I don't remember them making it any more big news after the Challenger explosion. Like, I don't remember watching NASA do a liftoff or a big lineup to a mission. Do you?
We did. Like, I want to say, because there was a gap there.
Okay.
I think it was was it 2 years before the next mission? Like, they ground everything to a halt until they completely understood what the hell happened. Like, they did not want to repeat this.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that point we had been doing successful launches for, since the 60s.
Right.
And this was the first one that ended horrifically. I mean, not that things didn't happen over time. It's just this was a manned flight explosion with a full audience.
Yeah, they took 2 years off because it was
Well, it hit
4 days.
everyone hard. Like,
Right.
this is. I don't know what you would even really compare this to exactly, other than, like, imagine if you, because I'm trying to think how many space missions were there up to Challenger. Uh,
Ashley, I'm still loving the hair, and that's impressive because normally by now I've grown dissatisfied with it. But no, I'm loving the hair. I've got to, there's got to be some updating done. I need some highlights and lowlights and some fun dye put in. But no, I'm loving this, and I've got another 3 weeks before I go back for a trim.
yeah, so basically yeah, it's probably a horrible way to describe it, but imagine making tons of Titanics. Like you like imagine being the White Star Line. You have made tons of this ship.
Right.
All have successfully done everything. Because granted, there were what, 2 sister ships or just one? Just one to Titanic.
No, there were two to Titanic.
2.
There were 3.
The Lusitania and the Olympic. Okay.
Right, and
Took
the
me
Titanic.
a second. I was like, I think there's 2.
Britannia. There's Titanic, Britannia. Lusitania was not a sister ship to the Titanic. Okay. It was the Olympic.
Okay. Well, I knew the Olympic.
Right. Britannia and Titania.
Okay. But yeah, no, so imagine making tons of these, all in a progression of getting bigger, better. And you are like, and it's, if I remember correctly, it's already done multiple successful missions.
Right.
And like, it's this wonderful, perfect thing. And then it's a random effing Tuesday and you hit an iceberg. Not as just part of the collective consciousness of like people in general. Like, when the Titanic sunk, that was a news item. It was a horrible story. There were photos, but there wasn't a live audience exactly. Like just the people that were on the ship that later told their story and how horrible the situation was. But what I'm saying is, with an audience on par with 9/11, that were all sitting there watching the news, or most people were. I was headed to class that day, but on that same almost level of everyone's tuned in and watching when all of a sudden disaster strikes. It was a lot.
It was a lot. It reminded, I think this is our generation's, meaning, the older ones of us.
Well, it's more
JFK.
Gen X's. It's more Gen X's.
Gen X's generation of JFK. Everyone knows where they were when JFK was assassinated.
Well,
I was on the other side.
I say it can't be the millennial one.
Yeah, it's not the millennial one. I don't think
because we were like, all of us were either babies or unborn. Like we were like, I'm literally considered on the oldest end of millennial, and I was 4.
Right.
So that means the oldest of us were 5 in the 28 days.
Yeah.
Before this happened. So it really wasn't like, it's not as big a, I don't want to say it's not a big deal. It's not like a defining moment for millennials.
Right.
9/11 is, don't know a single fucking person like that, or well, predominantly, that don't know where the hell they were on 9/11 generationally.
Right.
So.
Yeah. But it's interesting, because there's people alive now that remember seeing JFK shot, that remember the Challenger explosion, remember seeing Ronald Reagan shot, and remember 9/11. Yeah.
Yeah. It's sometimes scary when you think about the number of massive events that can happen in one person's lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
because I can remember Peter. Oh, what was his name? Peter.
you having a names problem this evening?
He was always Peter Jennings.
Okay.
ABC Nightly News, and he was
Strangely, the
the
first
coverage.
one I thought of.
Yeah. Speculating as it's happening. Wow. We don't know what has happened. We are getting information from them now. We don't know what has happened. I mean, there was speculation of a missile hitting it. There was speculation of it being collided with a plane. There was like speculation across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And just replays of it. Like 9/11 was bad enough because we saw replays for days.
Oh yeah. Well, but yeah, and I think I don't want to ever really say there's an upside to 9/11, but at least in that situation, it was already on the like this was like there were clear pieces and things that we could see.
Right.
Both in the rubble, in the, we weren't just trying to pinpoint, from like thousands of feet away on cameras.
Right.
Thousands of feet away, what just happened.
Right.
Like that's, there was some of that on 9/11, but it wasn't, good luck. Like we're all having to guess right now what the hell happened. Versus Challenge, which is where Challenger was.
Right.
Like there was a fair amount of speculation before we had answers, and it took a while to get answers. On 9/11, but I still say the response time on Challenger was a lot slower.
Right. But wasn't slower was the government reaction to it. Because I can remember Ronald Reagan taking the airways by 4 o'clock that day.
Mm-hmm.
From the Oval Office.
Well, yeah, because and then from the other side of that, like 9/11 was more a devastation and a what the fuck. Because I remember that. With Challenger, and granted, I'm having to extrapolate because like I was probably coloring. Like not to be rude, but like I was 4.
Yeah.
Just the reality of my life.
Right.
Like I wouldn't be 5 for several months. But I just looking at the footage, there was a far greater immediacy of devastation.
Right.
Like part of some of the worst part of 9/11 was the hope that everyone was going to get out, and not necessarily, one, not anticipating a second plane strike, and 2, even then, not being ready for both towers to collapse. Like one collapsed, that was horrible. Second one collapsed, holy shit.
Right.
And like just the amount of like slow unfolding devastation.
Right.
Challenger was definitely a Band-Aid rip. There wasn't a lot of hope, I think, that anyone had that day.
Right.
Of like, you just watch the whole damn thing disappear from the sky.
Disappear, break apart. I mean, it wasn't just like disappear. That would have been nice. We got to sit there and watch it it tore apart.
Yeah, but at the rate that it happened, it wasn't like there was a lot of like, well, I hope they're okay.
No,
I hope everyone gets out.
Right. But,
Like,
this was the beginning of the retirement. This was the end of the race to space, per se, for NASA. But it was more so how the government handled it
okay.
versus how they handled 9/11. Now,
Hmm.
on 9/11, when 9/11 happened, we saw the live action. Don't know why. We saw it. It was all filmed. It was all going live. There was a lot of cameras in New York.
Hmm.
The president didn't show up till like 9 p.m. And in between then, we were at war. We were being, there were more attacks coming. The airports were shut down. There was a run on stores. Like, misinformation was all over the place.
Well, that was just again. I think the shock value of
Hmm.
9/11.
Right.
Um, and then just the number of things that were involved there. Not to mention if I remember correctly, Bush was not at the White House when that happened.
No, he
He
wasn't. He
was
was reading to students a story.
he was doing one of those cute presidential take a walk things.
No,
Like it
he
was
was
the worst
right.
day. Like
Yeah,
he was nowhere near the White House.
right.
They had to get him aboard a plane, literally at one point, I believe, the only thing in the fucking air.
Next
And
to
they
the
were
fighter
scared to
pilots.
death. Do what now?
Next to the
Next to the
fighter
fighter.
pilot,
Yeah. But
because
literally the only things in the air at that point.
hmm
And literally with legit concern, anything could go wrong here.
hmm
Like at the point in which you've just had not one but two planes,
hmm
or three technically,
right,
diverted and flown into massive, giant buildings.
right.
I
Actually,
don't know that you
four.
were there four. I thought
There's
there were just
four.
three.
Two to the towers, one to the Pentagon, and one was headed for the White House. But the passengers took it over and crashed it.
That's right, four. So yeah, we remember the three hits, not the
Right,
one thankfully miss.
right.
Like,
Okay, you got to disappear for a moment.
yes, I do. Pop me out.
Yep. Give me a minute. I'll pop him down. There we go. Sorry, we're multitasking. Aeson is baking some banana strawberry muffins as an experiment. If it works good, my baristas will get the recipe. But no, there are things that I remember from Challenger that I remember from 9/11 that was interesting in just watching two administrations run things. Bush was told live on camera because, of course, the news media is there to catch his PR moment of reading to the students, and this, I believe it was kindergarten, and he just stops and pauses for a minute and then keeps reading. Kind of like, well, I got to be here and do this. He didn't get, and then he was immediately escorted, and then after the second tower, he was escorted out and put into the air. And the only thing flying at that time, and this is when we learned a lot about Air Force One, is they can stay in the air for up to 72 hours. And he just began flying, and they began actively moving Washington people out of Washington to secret locations. But also, what is not reported, and I saw it because we live in West Virginia, so we see a lot of like air travel, is they brought back the fighter pilots. Like, we had patrolled flyer pilots going, in the air.
Hmm. Well, and then with Challenger,
Mm-hmm.
like if I remember correctly, was Reagan actually in the White House for that one? Like physically there?
I don't know. I know he was on air by 4 o'clock with a speech from the Oval Office, and he took over Scooby Doo. Sorry, guys, I was a kid, son. Like, we had news all, and we had two channels.
Oh, you broke in on Scooby Doo, Mom.
Well,
Like,
broke into it, took it over. Mom was upset that General Hospital hadn't played that day, but it was one of those shaping moments.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
It
9/11, and we've seen a lot. I mean, we're now going on 3 years of a pandemic, and we'll move to that in a minute. It's just at that time, I want to say there was more class in politics.
Well, I don't know. I don't think anyone can quite look back at 9/11 and say that predominantly that was handled bipartisan without a lot of scuffling.
No, I don't think it was bipartisan without a lot of scuffling. What I'm saying is it was more so that there was more class. They took the crap together. They began working with Challenger. Reagan was holding meetings, holding cabinet meetings that day. Reagan went into Nancy. That some people say Reagan, some people say Nancy went into action on handling it much better. There was none of this dark conspiracy bullshit. None of this Fahrenheit, Challenger.
Well, I'm sure there was a lot of I don't knows with Challenger.
Right.
But then again, you put Reagan in his natural element in front of a camera.
Right.
I'm not trying to trash him as the actor.
Right.
But that's his natural element. Throw him in front of a camera and tell him what emotional status to have.
Well, not only that, but he had good speeches. He was a good orator. Always a good orator.
Yeah. Versus Bush, he got handed a lot that day.
Mm-hmm.
And both unprecedented.
Mm-hmm.
I think with Challenger, though, I think even if there had, assuming for a moment, if the prevailing thought in the room had been it was a terrorist attack,
Mm-hmm.
I think at that point you would almost at worst you're assuming that some satellites are going to fall out of the sky,
right?
And which can be devastating. Versus Bush was in the middle of 4 attempted attacks, 3 successful or mostly semi-successful attacks. Mm-hmm. An entire building has collapsed in front of the nation. All air traffic's been stopped. He's flying, and having a moment of, am I going to end up in a building?
Mm-hmm.
Because at that point, I think everyone looked a little suspiciously to their left and right if they knew a pilot.
Right.
I cannot, it took a while before people were comfortable flying again.
Right.
In the midst of all of this, there was suddenly a huge, massive shift in the way that our entire country treated anyone who looked different from us.
Right.
I think there were a number of people that tried to have grace.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of people emboldened to be very hateful.
Right.
And there was a sudden understanding of a deficit of knowledge.
Right.
About an entire region of the world, their culture, their religion, how an entire group of people identified, especially once they had left that area.
Mm-hmm.
And what this was and how to make sense of it.
Right.
Versus with Challenger, I that feels more like a day that the entire world came together with, this is horrific.
Right.
You know what I mean? There wasn't the same kind of who's our enemy, who's our friend, what's coming next, what's versus what Bush would have had with 9/11.
Right.
So I'd say that Reagan had a lot more room between the event and his press conference to actually be a better president
Right.
versus I don't think we'll ever call George W. Bush the greatest president we ever had. I just don't think anyone can say it without a giggle.
He's not memorable.
He wasn't like the worst president we could have ever produced. But he was.
No, we had that with the Oran Loompa Loompa.
Like, he was goofy on a good day.
Right. And he had an interesting sense of humor. What's interesting, and I just looked it up because I was like, no, Reagan was at the White House, but he was planning something. He was getting ready to do the State of the Union.
Yeah. So, if you're talking about classy, that's a very classy stage already.
Right.
You're already in the zone of class. Because State of the Union isn't, it's a very somber, serious thing.
It is. But the State of the Union is given at the Congress. He went into the Oval Office. I remember this address being given in the Oval Office.
Well, he was actually well known for his firesides.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember right, he introduced
No. Eddie introduced the fireside chats with the president.
He pulled those back.
He brought them back.
Because
Lyndon B. Johnson couldn't speak worth shit.
Well.
And Jimmy Carter, they couldn't put on air most of the times because if people were driving, they'd wreck.
I mean, I love Carter though. He was a good president.
He was the most boringest president ever, but at the same time, this man has said, "Oh yeah, I was president, but I've also built 98 houses, put 130 people into their own homes, blah 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 blah."
Not the most important thing he feels he ever did with his life.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
He's a peanut farmer versus an actor. Debate them.
Yeah.
Versus a career politician.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so you're gonna your mileage varies with presidents if you can't tell. It does. It does. Your mileage will vary.
I keep looking for a Kennedy. I keep hoping for a Kennedy. I keep wanting a Kennedy. We haven't gotten a Kennedy yet.
I'm gonna say this, and it's probably too soon, and will forever be too soon. But you're not gonna make Kennedy a thing. Stop trying to make Kennedy a thing. Have you seen what the fuck happens every time a Kennedy goes to Washington?
Well, we've had Kennedy archetypes.
Yeah. Okay, archetypes. Yeah, sort of. Yeah. I don't know. Kennedys were just one of those families that could get away with a lot.
Well,
I think we have to acknowledge that. Like, there's a certain brash bravado. There's enough money to support it. Mm-hmm. It's a certain lifetime mindset. Is you're not a bad person. You're just not always the best person. But it gives you a certain kind of bravado for being president.
Right. But, we've had, there are some archetypes, I believe, that take on the presidency. You have the Lincoln. You have the Roosevelt. You have the Taft. I know I've already seen the Taft in my lifetime. I don't want another damn one of them. Mm-hmm. You have the, Fair Deal. Another Roosevelt.
Yeah.
Teddy and the other one, Franklin. Both of them were very good presidents for their times.
Well, and you also have to establish that part.
Right.
Like, I think some presidents would be horrible transported through time. Like, they fit where they fit.
Mm-hmm.
If you elected them now, or 20 years later, or 50 years later, or 100 years before, oh, Jesus Christ, they would have been a nightmare.
Well,
they fit where they fit.
Hitting me is we really need a Roosevelt. FDR or Teddy, I don't care. We really need a Roosevelt in this country. We have a lot of changes going on. We have a lot of workers' problems going on. We have a lot of employment problems.
I can see what you're saying there. Like we need like a New Deal, that basically says enough's enough.
Yeah.
Like we have pushed society to its breaking point. We've written way too many loopholes and sweetheart deals for employers. We have turned this into a damn near slavery.
Right. And again, we either need a Roosevelt right now. I would love to see a Kennedy in my lifetime, back in the White House archetype that is for the people, that is wanting to be an explorer. I don't care if he gets a blowjob in the front office or fucks his secretary or whatever. I really don't. I'm so tired of hearing about their personal life. I don't need to know their morality. I need to know their decision making.
Well, yeah, but then you have to turn around and like, here's a weird thought. If we were talking about JFK now, do you realize, like every nightly news would probably end up looking like Pornhub, just with censor bars. Like, he fucked around so damn much. And it was perfectly socially acceptable on one hand. Like, it wasn't, but it was.
His wife didn't give a damn.
Right. Well, exactly. But it was more socially acceptable that he was running around. It made him more valuable as a man.
Right.
For whatever that's worth. And if you don't hear the condescension in my voice, because I think it was a weird time. But if you like brought that forward now, it would be like, oh, holy shit. Hell, I think Johnson would have ended up with an OnlyFans account. God knows the stories out of his administration are pretty much like,
see, everyone wants to talk about Kennedy fucking around because he got Marilyn Monroe and everyone else. Lyndon B. Johnson, by the goddess, in general, was a bigger whore.
Well, yeah, and like he was a bit of a pig,
you know.
But then again,
Kennedy was more of a polyamorous. Johnson was a one-night special.
Yeah,
I mean, Johnson
again. Neither wife gave a shit.
Nah.
Neither wife seemed to have really, honestly given a shit. Like they knew who they married.
All right, and I'm going to say this, and people don't like it. But I don't give a damn about the president's sex life. What I care about is he in the office doing his job from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday, putting through bills for our country, dealing with these internationals, dealing with Russia and their, attempt to take over Ukraine that I think will echo out into some bigger problems because, that's what I care about. Has he called the Queen this week and had a discussion with her about her knee surgery that she's gone through or the heart problem she has? Has he, talked to the French president about this, Iran deal and how to fix it since the Orange Loompa Loompa done something?
Well,
and then get his shit together and order it to the American people on Friday night.
Right. And bringing up the Queen, can I just point out in general, go look up Churchill. Churchill was a flippin' nightmare. Like outside of the fact that there was a war and like the entire world's attention was on it, and he just so happened to be a really damn good military strategist and had like some fucking platinum balls. But not for that. Churchill was a fucking mess. He was a walking train wreck.
He was a walking PR train wreck.
Like, however, you would have...
Since you brought up the Queen, that's who I think what the American people need right now, is an Elizabeth II. Someone to come into office, go, enough of this bullshit.
Oh, yeah. Churchill makes for an amazing reading.
But you have to find the honest reading of Churchill, not the whitewashed version of Churchill.
Oh, yeah. Like, Churchill was a flippin' train wreck of a human. Like, he was a drunk. He said some of the rudest, most inappropriate comments to date.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was good with a one-liner, but they usually all ended in severe insult.
Uh-huh.
Like, he could dish out some insults that you weren't coming back from.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. But here's the thing. It made news this week. I saw, the red side doing this. Can you believe what Biden said about No, I can definitely believe what Biden said about that stupid reporter that can't ask a damn question. This man is running the country, and you want to care about what he says? If you guys ever go into a corporate meeting with me, I make Biden look like a damn white saint.
Well, yeah, but where I'm at with this is, like, we have begun to more heavily scrutinize people in power.
Right.
And for good or bad. For good or bad. For better or worse. Sometimes I don't know.
Right. Now,
sometimes
this same reporter is the same reporter that asked Colin Powell. Was it Colin Powell? No. Which one was the Maverick?
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
He ran for president. He's a wonderful, wonderful senator from Arizona.
It's like Colin Powell.
No, it's not Colin Powell. His daughter is on The View.
That is such disparate information for my head.
Who is Megan's father?
Okay. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
McCain. Okay. McCain asked this man if he was stupid. When he goes, since you and the president aren't getting along, are you no longer? He goes, oh, you're stupid. Like, and this is the way this Fox News fake reporter is.
Well, more importantly, trying to create controversy through questioning.
Exactly. And see, I'm sorry, I love it when a president goes off the chain, because you get his honest feelings. And every time Biden has gone off the chain, it's fucking amazing. It's like he gets it. He is human. He does have an opinion on stupid.
Well, and that was a long time pointed out he was an interesting VP for Obama.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, like, the Obama Hope campaign plus Joe Biden, like, Obama's very articulate, and generally speaking, he's a very gentle human.
And it takes the reporter a week and a half to figure out that Obama just called him stupid.
Yes, exactly. He's very, he's very polite.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, like, Joe Biden they had a lot of problems trying to keep him on the straight and narrow and out of reporters' faces. Mm-hmm. Does great work behind the scenes, but he is very candid.
Yes.
He does not.
What I like is a candid president. Reagan was very candid. Unless Nancy butted him in the side every once in a while and told him to shut up. Like, that couple you can see it in the interviews. She is butting him in the side with her elbow to tell him to shut up.
Like, stop where you are. Now, you've made your point. Stop where you are.
Which brings us to our lovely state of West Virginia's recent State of the Union.
Oh, good grief. We broke. That's our state.
Well, that's our state because of, I don't know, we have Joe Manchin up in the damn Senate acting like a damn idiot, thinking that he rules the planet, and doesn't get why people need benefits to live in an economy that they could die if they go to work in. And doesn't want to feed children, doesn't want to take care of the schools, That's why y'all guys want to know why, like in Oak Hill, we had to go and build a brand new complex because the beautiful school sitting down there is torn to bits. It's because stupid people like Joe Manchin that doesn't get why a father needs to be home with his child when he has a newborn for a couple weeks. Okay? Who doesn't understand what workman's comp is. Then we have Big Jim Justice, who, if his great-grandmother was alive and still living in Robinson Holler over here in Fayette County, she would have took her washboard and beat his ass to Charleston and back and took that dog to the pound.
Alrighty.
Now, Bette Miller, I'm sorry, honey, you're right. And I'm sorry, our governor's an ass. Now, Governor Nelson, I understand that you run a state commonwealth of Virginia. Are you taking investors? We have a very rich county up here. We can, since we're wanting to forget the Civil War, we can even forget that stupid against the constitutional behavior of the presidency and of the Senate, and we can debate taxes and rates of pay and have an honest, brainful conversation with you about the reconciliation of the Virginias is where I'm at with this at this point. Because at least their senators and delegates have a fucking brain. At least their governor's doing something for their state.
Yeah, Virginia's had an odd time, though. Like, Virginia's a very weird place. Mostly because of that Commonwealth thing.
Do you think Governor Nelson would have brought his dog into a state and federal building where only service animals is allowed and try to mock one of the best supporting actors and charitable donators to your state? Not on his best day, not if we got him drunk.
Well, I know, but then again, like, I'm not saying like Virginia's all bad and their governor, legislature, representatives, etc. are all horrible. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't know that we're quite jumping that high up the evolutionary chain here. Like, granted, West Virginia's in the primordial ooze.
It's actually intelligent.
Well, I'm just saying though, like West Virginia is still in a primordial ooze, representatively. Like it's a shit show. It's a total shit show. It's a bottom of the barrel shit show. But Virginia hasn't always made me happy either. Like, it's never quite as bad. It's never quite. But they've had their representatives that were only marginally better. You know what I mean? Like, they've had their moments too, in which like it feels like
moments, but at
as
the
in
same
it feels
time,
like the ooze of West Virginia crossed the state line.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like, it feels like that. It feels like the ooze jumped a state line.
We're a little too far to join Massachusetts that has an intelligent governor and a great senator.
Well, West Virginia is not even ready. Like, the 2x4 upside the head that would take to West Virginia to get there. Like, high.
Oh, I think the people's ready. I think the problem is we keep getting offered the C's gets degrees people.
Well, it's not even that. It's more so like West Virginia has. I'm gonna win one of those baby dog cookies. What?
Oh, yeah, I've not showed him that, Brenda. I will gladly show him the baby dog cookies. So I'm going to get to that damn bakery here in a second.
Oh Lord. But no, I'm not saying all of West Virginia is horrible and we're all in a primordial ooze. I'm just saying there's enough of West Virginia that is still, a few cells short of like crawling out of the ooze. That is unfortunately holding us in the ooze. Like,
let's, now I want to talk about small businesses that need to go figure out what they need to do.
okay.
One of them being the city bakery, whose food is too sugary and too nasty to begin with, because they are just down from the two Tinkers, which I used to work at, and we get their cookies sometimes. And let's just say that, they should have some suits for tasteless food. Here being an example. So as I pull it up.
What do we got? Please don't tell me they turned the dog's ass into a cookie. They turned the dog's ass into a cookie. Jesus. Even I thought as I said that was just going to be funny. Oh, they turned the dog's ass into a cookie.
Yes.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
They need to get back to baking and out of the political specter.
Just a reminder, you can do a lot with a sugar cookie. Photo and all.
Exactly. Most likely it's not eatable. It'll be as nasty as the damn Jim Justice is.
Actually, it is. It actually can be. There are, I believe it's rice paper sheets you can print on, and it is a different ink, but it's an inkjet printer, that you can do that with.
You're not getting what I'm saying. Their food's unedible.
Oh, well, yeah. Well,
let's put it this way. Vlad can bake better cookies.
Well, in considering, here's my source. Here's the thing. You're saying they're bad. Mm-hmm. You're a diabetic. You dearly love sugar. There's never enough. For you to be saying it's too sweet, it's just nasty. I'm just sitting here going, I couldn't even get near that.
Right.
I struggle with overly sweet cheesecake. That's where I'm at in my life. You put the wrong topping on my cheesecake, I get mad.
Yeah.
There's limits. No, too much sugar. I'll still eat a caramel pie though.
Right.
Love those. But I can have one a year. One, not pie, but one slice, hopefully small, per year, is my maximal limit on a caramel pie. I love them, but they don't love me. I hit a point afterwards, it's I see sound.
Well, again, it's flavorless, it's tasteless. And I'm not just talking about the images they chose of a bulldog that he imported, and is using the most embarrassing slogans with.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but can we just point out, he's literally built his entire thing around Baby Dog. Mm-hmm. Everything has been centered on this dog.
Right.
I just, no.
How about
don't get me wrong, I don't think the dogs...
Do it for your grandchildren. Do it for your grandbaby. Do it for your family. That would have been a better slogan.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate the dog. I don't have a problem per se with the dog. PETA, don't come after us. I'm fine with the dog. I just don't, I don't get it.
Well, I think he needs to be fined. Yeah. For every place he's taken this dog that's not allowed. If I can't take my dog anywhere without a leash, and he can't go into buildings except to Lowe's and Pet Supply and whatever, then Baby Dog should not be there.
Well, no, we have terms and conditions for pets and for, service animals and support animals, but I don't know what we've got for political campaign animals, because that's what Baby Dogs become.
Exactly.
It's a whole new classification. The dog has a better chance of getting reelected.
The dog would do a better job as governor for the state of West Virginia.
You're not wrong. At least, presumably we could get Baby Dog to sit and stay at the Capitol. I mean,
Possibly. Granted, the
Just
owner's
saying.
trash, so they may not have trained the dog right, but at least, I don't know, she wouldn't be making stunts on fucking television for her political points as
Yeah,
her
basically.
infrastructure crushes around her state.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Ooh. Sorry, Brenda's offering cookies. They sound awesome. Oh. But yes, that sounds amazing. Oh. Yeah, they do seem to be counting baby dog as a celebrity animal. So they are. I mean, throughout the state, do you really want to argue with the governor over his dog? Like, talk about life
There are other
choices.
things I have to argue with him other than his bad care of an animal.
Well,
It is
but
obviously that animal is overfed, not exercised enough, not walked, and hasn't been groomed here lately. Did you see the nails in that dog? Don't even get me started on the bad and laziness of that man.
but as in terms of special exemptions, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is a lot like having Lassie go there. I get it. I get how this is happening. They're like the dog has hit celebrity status.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt on that.
Right.
So yeah, but then again, even if the dog didn't have celebrity status, are you really going to argue with the governor about
Yes,
his dog?
I do it daily.
Like, I think I would hold on. I'm just saying, I'd let the dog in first.
All right. By the way, follow me at Aeson.k. You'll see me read these damn politicians better than I read a damn English novel. Yeah, on Twitter. On Twitter, I read their asses to the end. Mooney and me, honey.
Yeah,
he gets fed a burger every damn day. And then, we got all, Casco that's fucking useless.
Yeah.
Manchin that I detour. Like, this man is so disconnected from reality. I want a competency test on him. Jim
You
Justice
just created a word.
What?
Or you reallocated a word.
Which word?
Detour him?
I deter him. I would rather see him off this planet. Yes.
Detest.
Detour.
Detest. Well, unless you are creating a new word, which is the slammed combination of detest and abhor.
Mm-hmm.
At which point you could detour him. But it's going to get confusing because detour is technically a word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's an entitled jerk. I think everyone's known that. It's just the fact of why the fuck did you keep voting for him?
Mm-hmm.
Like, sorry, like, why?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then we look at the rest of, like, our election ticket, and we see, yeah, well, compared, it could have been worse.
Right.
Frighteningly.
I don't know. At this point, I think I will be voting for anyone other than, I don't care if they put a damn Mickey Mouse baboon up there.
Yeah.
Or I will be voting for them instead of Manchin.
Well, this is kind of where I'm at with, like, the primordial ooze, is we have, in West Virginia, we end up with a lot of races that are uncontested.
Mm-hmm.
Or your candidates are the lesser of two evils. There's no good candidate. You're just sitting here going, well, this candidate's gonna fuck us this way, and this candidate's gonna fuck us that way. Which one is a bigger issue for me right now? Like, that's what voting in West Virginia feels like. You just sit there and you're looking at your list of candidates and you're just, what do I do with this? Like, there's not a lot of good people to choose from. There's not a clear line between candidates going, oh, well, they are so much better than this one, and here's why. You, like, if you had to write that as an essay, you could do it on a square of toilet paper. As far as, like, the number of things that you could point out that differentiate the two. We've had that's pretty much every West Virginia election I've voted in is just sitting there going, this does not line up to a good candidate, segment of, there's a lack of candidates. The qualities of them is marginally different. It's pretty much you're voting for the same person with a different haircut.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Now, there are other people in this state that I think would do well in the Senate. The delegate for Monongalia County, who blessed Fairmont, love that woman. Love her name. Love her tweets. Love what she's standing for. Love everything she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Heck, I think Greg Puckett would be probably good.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing is but sometimes you almost have to worry in West Virginia if you vote someone up,
mm-hmm.
if they run, up ticket, if they get voted in up ticket,
mm-hmm.
what kind of void does that leave behind them?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like we've had people that have moved from different like local to state, federal levels, and honestly, we have a shortage of really awesome people
mm-hmm.
to fill the roles they leave behind, the places they leave behind, the local governments they leave behind.
Right.
It's a struggle to realize, you could have a better city or you could have a better county. You could have a better county or you could have a better state.
Mm-hmm.
You could have a better state or you could have a better federal government.
Right.
That's sometimes also part of the issue we face in West Virginia. And then it goes downwards as well.
Mm-hmm.
They've been through a few positions before they got wherever they are. Right. And it's like, these are things they've left behind.
Right.
Oh, she left Fairmont because our city government is ridiculous to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's another thing. That seems to be its own, I want to say, almost West Virginia phenomenon. I don't think other states have it quite as bad.
Mm-hmm.
West Virginia does not do all that well with female representatives on anything, anywhere.
Right.
City government, county government, state government, whatever. Our old boys club is not just alive and well. It's like stuck in the 1930s.
Mm-hmm.
It is ridiculous how much of a misogynistic nightmare it ends up being.
Right.
And it's not hidden, it's not blatant, it's not below the surface, it's not hidden, it's not below the surface. It is blatant. Mm-hmm. It is out there. We're going to take the misogyny, bring it into the living room, and we're going to stroke it on the couch.
Right.
That's what we're doing, in city council, local government, state government. Right. It's not just it's a little bit of the old boys club there. And no, it's Jesus Christ, do they have white sheets after this? Level of wow, you are stuck in a different era.
Right.
And I've seen it happen to really good people working really hard in their specific position to make good choices.
Right.
And getting shot down at every turn, and just literally having it brought up that, they're a stupid woman. What do they know? And it's like, are you kidding me? You just said that.
Right.
You seriously just said that. what?
Mhm.
Where are we with this? But no, I can understand that. And West Virginia seems to have a disproportionate amount of that still, like, still running things.
Mhm.
Still getting voted for, still not getting called out for it, still
Mhm.
massively running away decent people.
Walker, Delegate Walker. I've been sitting
Yeah.
here trying to remember her name. She has
Okay.
class. She has style. She
Mhm.
blessed them out, and it probably took Fairmont Council a fucking month to figure it out.
Yeah,
She's
probably.
had violence at her home. She's had, and she's worked through this, been a real governor. Really, I think, real good person. Elizabeth
Mhm.
Warren, I'd love to see set in the presidency. I think we'd get
Mhm.
this country straight in about 2 years. If we put Warren in presidency, we have a very good vice president. And when I say very good, I wanted to look at the Senate and going, by filibuster, we're voting today
Yeah.
on every bill that's on our agenda. Get over it. You get 2 hours of debate, and then we're moving on.
Mhm.
Now, a lovely little city government. Oh, I've been bitching and feeding them. Dave Perry over there. He's another one of those old white men that needs to get
Oh,
out.
okay.
Oak Hill.
Yeah.
Do not care for him. He is the most disrespectful human in this city.
Yeah. I'm still horrified from my time in Princeton
Mm-hmm.
of the really phenomenal mayor that we lost.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying I always agreed with her, but I could follow her logic. She was making good choices. She was doing things, even if they were wrong,
Mm-hmm.
for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And we replaced her with basically the town drunk. Just because he knew enough people from the bar. Like, that's how it worked out. That's fundamentally what it turned into.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it
Well.
killed me. And all of it came down over a building,
Mm-hmm.
a new city hall,
Mm-hmm.
and a, a gift that wasn't a gift.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was a poison pill to swallow if the city chose to accept that or not. Which fundamentally moved Princeton city offices from what would have been a phenomenal building
Mm-hmm.
for city government right in the middle of downtown to an abandoned wood products building on the other end of town in the middle of a swamp
Mm-hmm.
that had a build out from hell and came with a requirement that we created a sports complex. And
Mm-hmm.
oh, by the way, I need a charitable donation receipt to the tune of several $1,000,000.
Right, so you can get out of these taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, the whole thing was, and she's sitting here like, are you flipping kidding me? This is the worst thing we could possibly do.
Mm-hmm.
It will bankrupt the city, and it damn
Right.
near hangs.
Right.
Like, I still don't think they're moved yet.
Right.
Like, the amount of crap that needed to be done.
Right.
Because I'm sorry, this is like, the building was literally a manufacturing building. It is a slab of concrete and corrugated metal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you want to move City Hall and City Hall offices and the police department, the fire department into.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like here in Oak Hill, David Perry is jumping at the bit to move our city hall that's been there since the 1800s, was donated to the city. They just now got a plaque for the donation up.
Hooray!
Hooray. To a bank building that's already been confirmed to have black mold in it.
Oh God. Well, now see, that was the same thing with Princeton. This was actually going to move into the old First Community Bank building.
Mm-hmm.
Is where they were going to transition to, which I don't know what bank building specifically was. Is it that what BB&T that just shut down?
Yeah, the BB&T building uptown, the old Merchants and Miners building that looks all pretty on the outside is falling to hell in the inside. The elevators suck. The floors will have to be redone. There's black mold throughout it. The roof is leaking. The garage is falling down. Matter of fact, the city had it up for sent them a letter requiring repair.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Yeah,
now,
no.
You guys may be wondering why we're talking about city government, because this is where it affects people. This, the federal government, the state government can wrap their mouths. The city government is where these people get their starts at. It's also where it affects your life more.
Or can, very much can.
Yeah.
On a direct impact individual basis.
Right.
And that's a large part of like the Princeton problem is the building they were looking at, the old bank building they were looking at in Princeton was, as far as anyone could tell, in great shape. It was a gorgeous building. The inside was old school banking with giant chandeliers and carpet you sink into, and hardwood, and it was a glorious old building. And was perfectly situated for everything it needed to do. To this building that's in the back of a swamp. Like, we were already like, I don't know any intelligent person that heard this plan that didn't go, how the hell are we going to get a fire truck out of there?
Right.
If it rains even little, the whole damn area that this sits in floods. To the point, I don't know you can get a fire truck out. Like, what are we going to have to do? Have the firemen park across the street and then row a boat over for their fire call? Like, good luck. If it rains, you can't get a police response in Princeton. Like, this is the level that damn building was at. It worked for the company that was there when they were there. It started to get worse and worse as this area built up more and more stuff, and it's literally become a race in that part of Princeton to build your business higher than the flood line, which in turn offsets water and floods other businesses.
So what they should do is collapse that area and either return it to Greenland or build it up. We have enough dirt in this state. Take some and put on it.
Well, and that's the fundamental problem, is this needed to have remained swampland.
Right.
Like, it is actually a detriment to that area that they built on it in the first place. Because and if you're from Princeton, Princeton, you ever want to figure out where I'm talking about, Pine Plaza.
Right.
And essentially the whole Stafford Drive area is nothing but a swamp. That's what it started out as. They slapped some pavement on it and put up a shopping center. And a bunch of other businesses followed suit. And literally all they're doing at this point is they're in a giant rat race. Trying to build up high enough to keep the water out of their business, not necessarily caring about the next business that water gets pushed on.
Right.
Which has in turn gotten to the point it now pushes water up to the next block. Like, you're now taking an area that but not for the shopping center. This area would have never flooded one block over.
Right.
Because, one, granted, they built the shopping center before permeable pavement was a concept, but even with it,
right,
it would still, like, if you rip that entire thing down, start it over, permeable pavement, there's a suspicion it still wouldn't help.
Right.
Because the area is just that saturated. And if you try to dry it out, it collapses. Like, that's the problem, is that, like, that parking lot is a potential sinkhole nightmare.
Oh, it is. All right.
Yeah.
So, let's go back to Lovely Mansion. Remember he blocked the infrastructure bill?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he needs to be charged with property damage. I think he may even need to have some more criminal charges. Malicious wounding comes into effect. And here's why. Look what happens at 7 o'clock this morning in Pittsburgh, right before President Biden is about ready to bring up and try to reintroduce the infrastructure bill.
Oh, good grief. What on earth?
The bridge collapse.
Oh, good God. Sorry, I wasn't quite seeing that one clearly. So bringing it over. Yeah, ooh, Jesus. So, yeah, bridge collapses. A Port Authority bus that was on a bridge when it collapsed Friday, January 28th, 2022, is visible in Pittsburgh's East End. A two-lane bridge collapsed in Pittsburgh early Friday, prompting rescuers to rappel nearly 150 feet, while others formed a human chain to help rescue multiple people from a dangling bus.
Mm-hmm.
Good grief.
Mm-hmm. In
That
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Those in West Virginia have seen the crews out trying to patch these road holes. The bridges in Charleston were shut down for over a week. Why? Because they had rusted apart.
Mm-hmm. And we've had a growing infrastructure problem, and it's not just roads and bridges. Like, those are your clear daily use reminders of our infrastructure. We're in a country that has a 100-year-old water system that was never 100 years and growing water system that was never meant to last this long. This is all buried underground.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it's lead, some of it's terracotta, some of it is who knows what. At this point,
yeah, some of it's wood.
And it's duct tape, spit, and a prayer that's keeping it all together. You wonder why you have mainline bus all over your town, your city, your area. This is why you have mainline bus all over your town, your city, your area. This is a failing infrastructure that was not meant to last this long, and we have literally just went, we'll deal with it later.
Right.
We'll keep repairing segments as they fail, without actually considering any kind of plan for the whole of this system.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
It is.
I mean,
it is ridiculous. It is beyond the point of, it's like we pay billions in taxes.
Mm-hmm.
There is no reason we should have a pothole. There is no reason that we should have bridges collapsing and rusting apart. There is no reason why we should have power outages. There is no reason why we should have grids going down. There is no reason why we should lose 43 people in a blizzard. This is not the 1800s. Hello, Texas. Welcome to the table of stupid.
Well, and I think Texas is a good place to show up in this conversation. Because fundamentally it's the same kind of Texas thinking that's gotten us here. And it's a desire to divorce us from government taxation and socialism. The specter of socialism. In a complete disregard for the need for communal, which is what your infrastructure is, it's communal resources. I'm sorry, do you want to go drag water from a river?
Not that we can't. I mean, it's bad. I have identified and sourced water.
Well, that's nice. And then what do we do about the people upstream that want to dump their sewage there?
Luckily, it's a mine, so that we don't have that problem. But I've already sourced that out, because this is how bad our infrastructure is. We are now looking at backup batteries and generators. Generators are being sold to us left, right, and center.
Yeah. Well, but here's the problem. It's all because we're divorcing ourselves from this idea that we need each other.
Right.
Like that, I'm sorry, you at some point have to accept a little communism in your life. Like
Well,
I'm
I'm
just
at
going to come
this
out and say,
point accepting a lot of communism from my point of view.
well, I mean, if we're going to get
None of
into
it
the
good communism. Like, there's good
yeah,
communism properties and there are bad communism properties. This is what
well,
aggravates me the most about this. We have a medical system crashing. We
mhm,
have literally employees had to take their ex-employer to court to be able to
mhm.
resign from the company.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, that's the healthcare center
that's the
or
healthcare
the
center.
healthcare case,
It has
the
been long
hospital case.
term.
Sorry.
This is why I wasn't able to even get immediate medical care when I injured myself. Is I had to. It was required by my license to wait for replacement.
Yeah. Well, and Brendan points out lottery was supposed to fix all roads. It never fixed them at all.
The
The
tolls were
lottery,
supposed to fix all roads.
the
The
tolls
license
were.
plate fee was supposed to fix the roads. The inspection stickers were supposed to fix the roads and make the driving safer.
Mhm.
We've yet to see that happen. Where's this money going?
Well, fundamentally, yeah. Yeah.
But we have a $2 billion rainy day fund. Honey, if it ain't pouring outside, I don't know what the hell's going on.
And understandably, a lot of governments are very protective over rainy day funds. They tend to want to avoid rating those.
Mm-hmm.
Understandably, like they're not meant for like, and this is the mindset of them, is they're not meant for easily accessible. You could just use this for whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They're meant to be very protected from use and abuse.
You mean like our Social Security fund was supposed to be and isn't?
Uh,
Our
yeah, that's the
Bonner's
same.
Healthcare was supposed to be and isn't? Our Black Lung Fund was supposed to be and is bankrupt?
And our United States Postal Service and the number of requirements that has been put on the United States Postal Service that has forced it into the concept of insolvency, even though it isn't an insolvent entity.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
because I mean, fundamentally, like just going off on the USPS tangent for a moment, anything is insolvent if you throw enough liabilities at it.
Mm-hmm.
If you set the bar high enough,
Mm-hmm.
anything's insolvent.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to fund like things that they should never have to be responsible for.
Yeah.
We've made a lot of use and abuse. And no, these were supposed to be protected programs. These were supposed to be elements of our country that were not easily rated, that were meant to be respected for what they were. But much like you're talking about on the state government level,
Mm-hmm.
it's a big old pot of cash.
Right.
Whether it's a rainy day fund or, Social Security, whatever it is, it's a big old pot of cash.
Right.
A lot of money got put in one place. And it becomes very tempting
Right.
to use that money.
Right.
Without necessarily either A, having a plan to replace it,
Right.
B, having an actual emergency that requires it.
Right.
And C, causing a lot of infighting because you have different views of how the money should be used.
Right.
Because there's a lot of takes on that.
Right.
Like, there are those that I'm sure would be thrilled if the state of West Virginia took the rainy day fund and gave everyone a tax holiday.
Right.
Like, we're just going to fund everything in the state that state taxes pay for.
Right.
With the rainy day fund, and you get a tax holiday.
Right.
Big businesses pay us a couple of bucks.
Right.
And happy 2022. This is our gift to you.
Mm-hmm.
And next year we will tax and slaughter.
Right.
And away goes the rainy day fund. primarily when governments set up, local governments especially, or businesses even, set up a rainy day fund, it is actually meant for catastrophic failure.
You mean like bridges collapsing, power collapsing?
Not necessarily.
That's what I'm saying. We are in catastrophic failures across the board here.
See, but what I'm getting at is that most of the rainy day funds, that's still technically not the level of catastrophe that the funds are set up to address. Literally, in a lot of cases, these funds are intended for if you were damn near bombed off the map. And there is a tiny sliver of, like, you have one government representative and 3 residents, and you need to rebuild the entire town from the ground up. Typically, that's about what these funds are intended to address, is a severe, catastrophic, total shutdown failure of every city, service, function, need, road, everything is obliterated off the map. That would be roughly where, or in the state of West Virginia, would roughly be where technically that fund should apply. Is if an entire county-wide or multi-county area were to completely catastrophically fail in terms of some horrific event, totally decimates, that's when technically a lot of these funds, and I'm talking in generalities, but that's technically the kind of catastrophic failure they're meant to address. And it is meant to be it's not generally meant to deal with long-term neglect. Even if that is fundamentally running us towards a total catastrophic failure of an entire system. Like, there's a possibility every road in West Virginia could fall apart, turn into, a dirty rut. Every bridge has collapsed, everything else. And if it's due to neglect, theoretically, those rainy day funds are still not available.
Well, that's just it. They need to be dissolved and put to use in the state. And I think every government official should go on whatever the current welfare system is and have to live on that. Like, the rest of their wealth gets put in trust as long as they're in office for 8 years, and they live on the welfare system.
And I think, unfortunately, what we'll find out is even if that, they are still going to be doing better. Like, there are hidden problems that make life worse for someone who is, depending upon how you enter the welfare system. That how you start receiving benefits can like where you are, what you have, what your assets are that you do primarily get to keep. Like, you get a car, a house, etc. There is an unfortunate and tragic amount of difference between groups of people depending upon where they are when they come in. Because fundamentally what happens with, say, Social Security, disability, or any of your government programs that would step in to help, they're at best maintenance, bare minimum living maintenance. They are not intended for adult humans to grow, change, and need. They are not meant to fix your roof. They are not meant to buy a bigger house. They are not meant for you to replace a car. They are not meant for you to really improve over time.
Right.
Fundamentally, all it does, generally for most people, is your standard of living will decline
Mm-hmm.
the longer you are receiving benefits.
Right.
Because at best, it's going to, with a reduction of what you do,
Mm-hmm.
maintenance the bare necessities that you need, which
Mm-hmm.
means you're not putting any money towards improving quality of life or repairing elements of
Mm-hmm.
your quality of life. So eventually your quality of life is going to decline.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's one of those things of look at it and show me one person who can legitimately say that, their quality of life improved
Mm-hmm.
over long term. Like, there's an immediate improvement.
Mm-hmm.
But long term, your quality of life will decline the
Right.
longer you are on these programs.
Right.
Because they were never designed to improve your quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
None of them are developed that way.
Right.
And I find that the fundamental flaw
Mm-hmm.
is no one ever stepped back. I get the concept of a social safety net. I really do. I also get the concept that we never actually tried to build a system that helped people out.
Right.
Like that was like the broken idea of it. We thought we could legislate it. We thought we could force it. We thought we could make it uncomfortable enough people would force themselves out.
Mm-hmm.
That's not really what's happened, because fundamentally what these programs end up doing is you're trapped.
Right.
You can't get out. Like, everything you would need or want to have in order to be able to get out
Mm-hmm.
costs more than what you get.
Right.
It becomes quicksand.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen anyone that wasn't true for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the longer you're in, the deeper it gets.
Right.
And the more immobilizing it is to get out of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brenda says they can't afford to improve. A friend improves her circumstances, and the sliding scale charges her more for rent, plus lowers what they help her with money and medical wise, to where she
Mm-hmm.
loses more than she can make.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's quicksand. Define quicksand. That's quicksand. You're
Right.
just, it's going to pull you deeper and deeper and deeper. And why? You know what I mean? Like, it's
this continual cycle of, oh my God, like,
mm-hmm.
can we stop this bullshit? Can we stop the continuing problems?
Mm-hmm.
And what's bad is now we've got billionaires coming in to solve problems.
Well, I don't want to knock charitable giving. I don't want to knock.
No. I'm not even talking about charitable giving. Part of the American Build Back Plan was a freeze on pharmacy prescriptions.
Okay.
Joe Manchin, of course, voted against it and blocked it.
Yeah.
Well, Michael Corbin has stepped the hell up. He said, oh, okay. Yeah, I can see the profit margin here. I can do this cheaper. I can do this better. I'm going to launch a company.
There you go. Not a bad thing to have happen. It's build a better mousetrap, build a better mouse.
Mm-hmm.
But no, what I was more specifically getting to, and I think I lost my train of thought. Help me out. Rewind my words. See if it re-rails the train.
Quicksand. People can't get out of the same traps they're in because of the way the government programs work, because of they're not helping them, they're keeping them froze where they are.
Yeah, no, I'm derailed.
Okay. Well, let's talk about, Michael Corbin.
Mm-hmm.
and his new pharmacy that is up and running. Cost Plus is up and running. One of the big ones here. One of the big ones here, because I went and looked at the site past the news media. The generic for Zimicom. For those that are not familiar with this is HIV medicine.
Okay.
Okay. Most insurance companies do not cover it. Its cost per month, retail, is $1,096.10.
Mm-hmm.
Give me an estimate of what you think Cost Plus is.
Oh, I have no idea. Although I'm looking at this leukemia quoting. I don't know. I'm going to take a gander that he enjoys somewhere around the $50 price point.
It's $50.60.
Yeah. Well, sorry, I was looking at this other one that is imatinib, used to treat leukemia, with a retail price of $9,657 per month, or $120 with a common voucher. They're selling at $47 per month. So yeah, I think he's looking at the price point of, it's more expensive than a copay for most covered insurances.
Right.
Depending upon your insurance.
Not really.
35 used to be the standard, 50, 60 sometimes in other cases. Versus like cash out of pocket, or like what the company will give you in terms of a voucher. Which is its own, like, train of thought back. And it actually applies to this. So I'm not against charitable giving. I'm not against programs that or money that is given, or anything created that is meant to help people, but is done at a very specific level, a very targeted level, a very limited area level. Like, I'm not against that. But can we all agree that that's really not always the best way to approach a problem? Like, I'm not saying some problems can't be helped that way if they were a entirely local problem. But it does unfortunately create this like broken network of some people are doing better because they're here versus being there. Kind of scenario that you know, or they have the right problem, or they have the right, you know, religious affiliation, or they have the right whatever. You know, they meet the right person who turns them on to this program. But additionally, a lot of, and the vouchers is what brought it back up, a lot of prescription companies do have like discount vouchers, discount programs, discount whatever. God help you if you need multiple medications that have to be covered by those, because each one is its own separate, typically annual process with changing requirements, changing forms, weirdo questions. Please provide your, like, you know, life history, you know, and account for every penny you have and why you can't spend it on our meds process to get approved.
Right.
And they're all different. They all take varying amounts of time, and can potentially put you at risk of losing other benefits. It's a nightmare system.
It is.
I mean, one of the frightening parts of Medicaid is if you get caught buying your own health care, you can lose Medicaid.
Right.
And it's like, what? like, it kills me the idea that you could lose Medicaid for taking what assets, money, gifts, donations you could get from someone else, or exchange of your own, to improve your health and welfare, could cause you to lose out of the social safety net system. Like, let that resonate for a minute.
Right.
Like, let it resonate for a minute. It's kind of like, wait, what? But then also with these programs, and I think it's a little like Devin's comment inspires this one, because Devin says that's it's appalling what insurance won't cover. And yes, and the problem with this situation is, as great as it looks, it may actually inadvertently encourage a lot of insurance plans to start dropping coverage. Because just go buy it over here.
Well, I just added up 5 of my 8 medicines, including the ones that we pay cash for. We'd be saving $40 a month if I went and bought it from here.
Potentially. But at what point does that inadvertently create more stress? You see what I'm saying? Is like, yeah, you can go save $40 over here right now. But then what happens if, because of this, Medicaid decide, or any program, any health insurance provider decides, well, we're just not going to cover it. You can go buy it here. You can pay cash out of pocket. It's cheap.
Yeah.
If you want your meds, go buy them.
Right. Well, it's like one of the meds that we both take. For ages, we thought we couldn't afford it. Insurance won't cover it. Couldn't afford it.
Yeah. Well, and generally speaking, it can be a problematic med for a number of reasons, but mostly for many, many decades, it was still new enough that it did have patent protection. So you had one manufacturer. The generic, even when it went generic, was really super expensive as well. And it's only been recently that it started to kind of price crash.
Well, not only that, but programs like GoodRx kicked in.
Yeah.
And that's what we used to buy it with now. And it's like, okay. And that took a pharmacy friend sitting down with us and going, all right, you guys should be on this blood thinner. What the hell are you doing? And we're like, it's $500 a month. And they're like, no, it isn't. You're an idiot.
Well, it is, but it is, but
right.
There's a way around that. But this is my problem with these ways around it. Is it overly complicates what should be a very simple concept.
Right.
That how hard would this all fucking be if we had universal health care, a universal prescription plan, and your doctor writes you a prescription, your pharmacist fucking fills it, and universal healthcare pays for it, and you get billed in taxes for your equivalent contribution towards universal healthcare. How flippin' hard would that be? Like, it would be so flippin' simple. You just show up and get your meds and go home, and everyone is happy. Everyone is healthy. No one gets held at gunpoint because their insurance denied coverage. No one flips their shit. No one's dying because insurance can't get an approval through. Like, people aren't going broke and losing their homes and their retirements and everything they have because of healthcare. Like, how do you not process that this is what we could have, but you're choosing the most convoluted, crazy, insane, doesn't make sense to anyone.
Right.
Like, I've never heard anyone that looks at our current healthcare system and all the bullshit and is sitting there going, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. No! You gotta be insane to think any of this makes sense and it couldn't be better.
Right.
Like, no one has ever said that.
Right.
Like, it is clear that if you did a universal healthcare system, it would make more sense. We would be focused on healthy outcomes and health care and not who's paying the fucking bill.
Right.
And how
because
much
we're
does
all
it cost?
paying the fucking bill. And prices would drop because, if...
Funny thing, when you can sell more of something, it's cheaper to produce and sell.
Yeah.
Funny thing.
Yeah.
Funny thing.
Yeah, but we've got people freaking vaping hydroperoxide, drinking their own urine, taking horse piss, horse medicine.
Yeah. Which I don't get that either. Like, what in the name of Dr. Quinn, medicine woman, is going through your damn head if you're reaching into the barn, literally, to try to treat your own perception of your illness? Like, I'm sorry, there's a lot of people with a lot of education that are working on this.
Right.
I'm not saying that, like, general first aid and all that is useless.
Right.
I'm not. I like, there's some basic things everyone can do at home. But there are some really good minds working on this.
Right.
And you're going to go to the barn and take a dewormer that someone told you to use, who's has at best questionable medical training?
Yeah.
At best.
Yeah. Well,
if it's not just like your weirdo friend down the street who also, thinks aliens were involved with JFK. And
the mob done that. We all know the mob done that. But it's like when we were getting for your neck surgery and you would get down and I would joke about you doing it in the back of the Kia.
Yeah,
and you taking me fucking serious.
Honey?
Yeah.
What parts of my family are from McDowell and Wyoming County? Did you not understand? I am not entirely certain that some surgeries and things did not get done in the back of a car or the back of the woods or the back of beyond.
This is why I make sure every dining room table I have can be used as a surgical event. But that isn't the damn point. Yes, I have read and watched documentaries of and done in-depth studies on Victorian medicine.
I think I can find it interesting.
Yeah.
You ain't Dr. Quinn, medicine woman, my ass.
If I don't have to, I'm not going to.
Like, tourniquet me and take me to the hospital. That's what I want.
But if there isn't a hospital, by golly, you're going to get a shot of whiskey and a little bit of, whatever we got to knock your ass out, even if it is a little bit of mushrooms I picked up in the forest, and then I'm going to take the done gunshot out, cauterize your wound, pack it with some seaweed, and sew the fucker up.
But that's in a horrific situation in which, there's no hospital.
Right.
Like, there's no getting to a hospital. Like, if there's a hospital choice, take me there.
Right.
Take me there. This is why, like, we've had this conversation. You've looked at me like I am flipping crazy when I've said it. Like, if there's a zombie apocalypse, I'm walking towards the zombies, okay? Like, if it's clear this is a, like, Earth-Ender event, I'm just walking towards it. I do not plan to survive the zombie apocalypse. I ain't running that much.
We don't have to run.
Like, but no, I will walk and sacrifice myself to the zombies. I am done. I am not built for a post-apocalyptic world. Like, this is not new. I'm walking towards the zombies. Thank you very much. The rest of you may run away while they're distracted. Like, that's where I'm at.
Right. And see, I'm the total opposite on this. Like, I know back and forth my medical books. I know back and forth my nursing, which, by the way, I am so disappointed with the nursing field right now. Don't even get me started. You know, I've learned a lot of herbal medicines. But I ain't freaking prescribing any of that damn shit for COVID. Why? Because COVID is not a virus that the Victorians knew.
Well, for starters. But moreover,
that would be like me baking bread and keeping it covered for 7 days in brandy and then feeding it to you because you've got an upper respiratory you've caught tuberculosis. That's about the equivalent of these morons around here.
Well, and the realization that, like, when we're talking about new and emerging diseases, you do realize there are some very, very super powerful computer modeling simulations that not only look at, the virus or bacteria or fungus or poison or whatever it is, but also look at the medications and understand how those work in a human body, that when something new and emerging, comes into the scene and researchers start working on it, these really powerful computers go through all known treatment options. And some will kick out as potential. They have potential to work. And then they try those. And if it's moldy bread covered in brandy, or whatever the equivalent of that is in a pill, they try that. And then after it doesn't work a few times, they move on. Like, there's not... there's a very low likelihood, and always was through all of this, that, like, the Joe Rogans of the world were going to come up, randomly running their mouth while high as kites about some shit they read on the internet with the cure. Like, infinitesimally small.
Right.
And that it was going to be something that no one had thought of. Like, hi.
Oh, interesting. They're looking at shark cartilage
to use against the plague. That does not mean I'm buying it and taking it instead of a vaccination. Yeah. Like, the vaccination is your simpler choice.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a perfect choice. It is not, like... And that's the part that has killed me, and I know we've been trying to steer off this topic, but it kills me mentally.
We can go right into this topic, because that's where I'm headed, and then we're wrapping up tonight. We will talk about the Justice Stephen Byers stepping down, but we are going to have our asshole of the moment. But let's talk about this. Yeah. This is a virus that is not being seen on this planet in this species form in probably 500 million years. Thank you, global warming.
But no, fundamentally, though, what kills me is we have people that will drink urine and swallow bleach and on and on and on, all the crap that has been brought up as solutions to protect, cure, treat, whatever. They'll follow that. But the minute that a ginormous team of medical and healthcare professionals and researchers suggest doing something and fully articulate how imperfect it is. It's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It's not perfect. It's your best shot, but it's not perfect.
Right.
That they won't do. Something that should be clear and obvious, like don't drink bleach. It's right there on the fucking bottle, in case you were curious.
Right.
They'll do that.
But we've got the Orange Limpa Limpa telling them that that's the new treatment.
Well, yeah. But that's my problem, is how can you follow... Like, I don't get it. I don't get the brain that takes this stuff in and goes, okay, well, the CDC said this imperfect thing was our best shot. And fucking Donald Trump, Joe Rogan, and I don't know, some random actress from the 90s.
Oh, let's go back even further. We just talked about him dying. Meatloaf.
Yeah. Randomly suggests that you do some weirdo thing they read about on an internet forum by someone they don't know, whose any form of medical qualification is unacknowledged, at least, said to do because that's the answer. You'll follow that, but the fact that, like, you know, this team of very intelligent, well-skilled experts in their field said something was imperfect. They admitted it from the beginning. This is not going to be 100%.
Right.
This is imperfect, but it is your best chance. They'll argue that the problems of that and completely dismiss it as something they're going to do. But then they'll totally gamble with using things that are clearly not for human consumption. Blows my mind. I don't get it. I can't understand that mental process at all.
Right.
I've tried to be graceful with it. I still do kind of go, if that's the choice you want to make, that is your choice to make. Please stay at home.
Right.
Don't infect others, specifically with your stupidity, but with the virus either.
Right.
Please stay home. But you know,
and please don't breed.
Yeah, like I've tried to be graceful with it. I really have, but it boggles my mind. How do you get there?
Right.
How do you, like, what is the meandering, like, nightmare of your brain?
Right.
That these two things go in, and this is what you shit out.
Right.
As the answer you're going to take. I don't get it. I don't get it. I've tried. I don't get it.
Well, you know, and we go back 100 years to 1918 when, the masking and everything else. Well, actually, it wasn't the masking. The masking comes from the Black Plague. We go back to 1918. We look at some of the mistakes that clearly are shown in history. And we are doing the same damn things.
Yeah. No, I get it. Like, that part I get. Like, well, and I mean, science makes its own mistakes. We have had horrible scientific mistakes. Generally speaking, most of those, honestly, I don't know how they happened.
Right.
Like the lobotomy, I kind of follow how someone thought what they thought about it. But there really weren't that many people even then that were jumping behind the science.
No.
Because even then, the science seemed funky.
Right.
And the outcomes were very unpredictable.
Right.
And it was a very uncontrolled thing. And the fact that we had a massive number of lobotomies performed on people horrifies me. So I'm not saying science is entirely, you know, that the medical profession is entirely, you know, without its own struggle to ensure good science and good medicine is being practiced by the right people. It has that problem.
Right.
And it has an ugly history.
Right.
But I'm still more comfortable that the incidence of abuse that creates those horrible situations is much, much lower than someone looking for fucking ratings.
Right.
Like, I don't know. Peer-reviewed science seems like it might be your better choice.
Right.
But I just don't get it. And
right.
Devin points out my ex-mother-in-law had electroshock therapy.
Well, I'll defend electroshock therapy for some things.
And I think that's where some people are with electroshock, is that I think it was also highly abused and treated as the panacea cure-all for everything.
Everything. And it's not.
Like, we were going to cure homosexuality, we were going to, cure criminality, we were going to cure hypersexualization, we were going to cure melancholy, postpartum depression. Like, it was a huge list.
Right.
It got abused. And again, it's another one. I'm sitting here going, yeah, the science didn't really back that up, and that's not where it started.
No.
This was conceived, as I understand it, for basically at the point in which someone is non-functional.
Catatonic,
or in some other state of which they are non-functional.
Right.
Like, if I remember correctly, I think one of the beginner points was that it was conceived of as an idea for jump-starting the brains of people in comas.
Right.
If I remember correctly. Which, theoretically, I can follow that. Like, I can follow why you would take that theory.
Well.
And conceivably, if you're talking about someone stuck in a coma, and potentially they're never going to wake up again. I could understand taking the risk. Because arguably no one really knows what a coma is like for the person in the coma, and most people who do wake up from comas don't necessarily remember their coma experience. So arguably, if it doesn't work, you might be putting someone in endless torture.
Right.
And we would never know. Or conceivably never quite understand that.
Right.
Or to what degree it was so horrible.
Right.
But if that's what you're looking at, is someone in a functional vegetative state, or a non-functional vegetative state, I could see it being worth a risk.
Right.
Taking functional, healthy, otherwise happy human beings,
right,
whose life choices you disagree with,
right,
and shocking the shit out of their brain,
right.
No, that's not medicine. That is a severe misuse of a medical procedure to try to force your will upon others, believing that their problem is a mental disease or defect.
Right.
When no such thing has been established.
Right.
Clearly and defined.
Right.
Oh, goodness, Devin. Yeah, I can understand that situation in terms of how she ended up there for electroshock therapy.
Yeah, and there are many instances of properly used electroshock therapy that work, that are based in science at a certain point. But they started applying it to everything. And we see this even today.
Well, and they also started using it punitively. That, this wasn't... there was a point in which they knew that it could be severely damaging, and they just didn't care.
Right.
because the perceived social problem
Right.
was considered worse than any perceived problem that electroshock would cause.
Right.
And I think that's sometimes a very dangerous place to be if you're not talking about literal individual suffering, pain, etc., but you're at the point of like a moral high horse.
Right.
You know, I'm not saying, you know, everyone wants to be friends with like the drug dealer, rapist, like criminal. You know, you don't want to be best friends with the pedophile.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to use a medical procedure against them,
Right.
punitively,
Right.
you're doing so from a place of moral superiority, not from a place, and specifically when you're doing it from a place of moral superiority, not from a place of proven science that this will actually help them,
right,
and that the benefits will far exceed the risks and problems.
right,
You're using it punitively, and you're literally abusing human beings
right,
because of your morality. It doesn't mean that I like, you know, any of the groups I just described. But I think that they are still human, and they just, as much as we dislike what they do,
mm-hmm.
There are far better ways to address what they have done
Mm-hmm.
than shocking the shit out of their brains.
Right.
Indiscriminately, and, you know, everything else.
Right. I've heard rumors of that, Devin, of them bringing it back to cure autism. I'm in debate because that's not how it works.
Well, there's also, now, it's also very important to delineate the difference between electroshock and deep brain stimulation.
Right.
Deep brain stimulation could be compared to electroshock, except it's far lower voltage.
Right.
And it is done at a more precise point in the brain.
Right.
There are potentials that if you can identify areas of the brain that are misfiring, and we do this already with a number of different conditions, such as Parkinson's. Deep brain stimulation will stop the runaway train of Parkinson's. The same as it has also been shown to help control seizures. And yeah, you could compare it to electroshock. I would if you want a comparison, electroshock is like sticking your brain in a microwave.
Right.
Deep brain stimulation is a joy buzzer to a very small area of the brain. Like one of those little, like, hand things.
Right.
I forget what they're called. Joy buzzers? Is that what they were
called? Joy
called?
buzzers.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a very vast difference.
Right.
It's electroshock of a sense, but it's not like leagues and fathoms of difference.
Right. Again, it has a medical use. I think it should be used very sparingly as a last resort when the brain is in total trauma. Misfiring, kind of like, because what it is what it should be used as is an AFib stimulator for when the heart goes out of trauma, goes out of rhythm.
And I still don't think electroshock is exactly the perfect version of it.
No.
Like, because it's a bit like sticking someone's head in a microwave.
Yep.
And can have large effects.
Right.
On areas that did not need anything done to them. Either because you have to get through those layers of the brain, or because they're in the way.
Right.
One way or the other.
Exactly.
or they were there.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
it is very much, using napalm to kill an ant, depending upon
Exactly.
the situation. Like
Right.
if you need to target a very tiny part, like rice grain size of your brain,
Mm-hmm.
or pea sized or marble sized portion of the brain to fix a situation, you are applying napalm
Mm-hmm.
to the brain
Right.
to attack that area.
Granted. And what we're looking at is old science.
Mhm.
Old, old science. We
It
do not
is.
know if it's been refined. We do not know if it's an experimental of being refined.
Mhm.
Okay, it's very much like the defibrillators that I learned on are not the defibrillators of today.
Well, and then even beyond that are the implantable defibrillators
Yeah,
now.
those weren't even a thing.
That's a whole other area
Yeah.
that is like, no, that's a whole different thing.
Hmm.
Then, and the concepts and the approaches are far more refined.
Right. All right, so here comes our favorite segment of the thing, and I really think I'm going to
Mhm.
start. I'm going to create a special break for this segment. Are you the asshole? This is where we
Or
take
am
on
I
a
the
"Are you the asshole?" comment and
asshole?
then break it down from our viewpoints.
Oh yeah, this is am I the asshole for inviting my 29 male girlfriend, 28 female, on an expensive vacation and expecting her to pay all of her share? I make a lot more than her. In parentheses. Hello, my girlfriend, myself, my parents, and my brother and his wife all went on vacation in another country a week ago. My brother and I were the ones who did most of the planning of the itinerary, although we did ask everyone else for input. For background, I make about $150,000 a year as an IT consultant. My girlfriend is a teacher making $45,000 a year. My parents are pretty affluent as well as my brother and sister-in-law. My girlfriend knew this trip was coming up and took on a second job waitressing on the weekends for several months to get ready for it. We have always split things 50-50 in the 2 years we have been together. There were a few times on the vacation when she did not go on outings with us, wine tasting, scuba diving, etc. She would also would only eat 2 meals a day, simply stating that she was on a budget. My family does favor more high-end, expensive places. My parents thought it was very strange that she only eats 2 meals a day, although normally she eats three. When we got home, I asked her why she skipped out on several of the outings and only ate 2 meals a day. I mentioned how I heard her stomach growling one night and said I was concerned about her having an eating disorder. She got teary eyed and said that 3 meals a day wasn't fiscally feasible for her, and neither were the outings that she chose not to go on. She went on 3 out of 6 outings. She said she was not expecting everything to cost so much, and she was overwhelmed. She also said she doesn't know if this is going to work long term if she is expected to go on vacations like that with people who make so much more than her. I feel bad that I did not pick up on her discomfort sooner. But we did agree to split everything 50-50, and I don't know why she agreed to come if the cost was an issue. Holy.
Oh, hell.
Like, oh, you the asshole. You, like, here, like, whoo, you're the asshole. Like, there's no one that could have read that and not been like, you're the asshole.
Actually, not one commenter said that he was not the asshole.
I know, right?
Okay. And we run into this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I run into this a lot because people get very aggravated with me about how I run my household.
Well, my biggest problem in this one, and I just want to drop it out real quickly, is this is a horrible, horrible version of split everything 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
And we have talked about this probably way too many times on the show that 50-50 isn't 50-50. It's 50-50 from the position in which you are in.
Right.
She makes 1/3, less than 1/3 of what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Her 50-50
Mm-hmm.
is weighted at 1/4
Right.
of what something costs.
Right.
At best.
Yeah.
So if we're talking $1,000 in rent, her 1/4 would be $250 because that is 50-50 of what she could afford.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in this vacation situation, I cannot get how someone, like, all the red flags were there. All the
Yeah.
red flags were there. That this is so, like, she is trying so hard
Mm-hmm.
to make this work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an impossible situation because the bar is so flipping high. Because you're already splitting things with her in a literal 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're asking her, who you have basically made destitute,
Mm-hmm.
to go on a really expensive vacation in which she also has to pay her way in
Right.
every sense of the word for every damn thing.
Right.
No, it's impossible. Like, he created an impossible situation, and it's not that he's unempathetic. He's just an asshole, Brenda. Just an asshole.
Total damn asshole. Now,
yeah,
my viewpoint. First of all, I wish people would get over this fucking 50-50 because it's never 50-50. Some days it's 90-10. Some days it's 40, 60. Some days it's 20-80 in a relationship. The idea of 50-50 is bullshit.
I don't think it's bullshit. I think it just has to have a lot more nuance.
Right.
Like literal 50-50 is a near impossibility.
Right.
Like, you would have to be perfectly matched in every single category across the board.
Right.
And it's hard to find couples that are that perfectly matched.
Right.
It just doesn't happen. Like, there's always, a discrepancy in income. There's a discrepancy in background. There's a discrepancy in debt. There's a discrepancy in, physical health. There's always gonna be, like, and it's not always exactly like one person is so much worse and one person so much better. Sometimes it's like a fluctuation. Like, someone makes more money, but they have more energy. Like, it's differing things.
It's differing things.
It works out. Like, you
but
can cross the
let's talk about how we run our house. At our house, there may be 4 people, there may be 15 people, there may be 2. We run our house on a group family household, meaning if there's 3 people in the household, then whatever's in the bank accounts is what we're using.
Yep.
There's never been a debate of, well, this is your part and this is my part and this is your part. And no, that doesn't happen. This annoys me. When you get into a relationship with somebody, if one's making $150,000 a year and one's making $12,000 a year, wahoo! At the end of the day, it goes into the same pot.
Well, and it does, and fundamentally, it would accomplish the same thing. Like, if they were using one general account and all their, $195,000 went in, then fundamentally it would be equally divided amongst what they've chosen as their lifestyle, what they can afford, and this is the pot to do it out of. And they are equally contributing, just it's not perfect.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, she is contributing 1/4 of, compared to his 75%. But it's still, if you back it up, these are the things that are the life she could afford. versus these are the things that they have because it's a life you can afford. And that's where it always has to end up. Like there's multiple different ways to do it. You can do it with one big bank account. You can do it with yours, mine, and ours. But you always have to approach it with that same thought of this is what it is.
Right.
Like, you know, and I don't get people who can't follow that think this has to be a literal 50-50.
Right.
How is it 50-50 if one person is spending like 60% of their income to pay, you know, the rent, their 50% of the rent, and you're barely kicking in 5% of yours?
Well,
like the affluence difference there is tremendous. You are benefiting at their expense.
Now let's flip the page. Let's take it home. Joe, tell them how this would have happened if this was me and you going on this trip to Italy.
I think it probably would have broke down to like we're using one account and the money is the money and we've planned regarding the money for both of us.
Yeah.
Like quite simply, the more, you know, like generalized version of it is, it's not, you know, okay, Joe, we're going to this thing. I have my money and I need your money. And this is the amount of money I need from you to be able for us to do this.
Yeah.
Because more than likely, like, to be blunt, I'm not in a situation to go take a nice expensive vacation right now.
Well, to be blunt, like, we're not. We're not in a situation.
But like, assuming we were, more than likely that's not going to be because, you know, my ship just came in and dumped a ton of money in my account.
Right.
It's going to be because, you know, like our finances have gotten to a point, ours being yours, that what's coming in. Well, I know, but still, it's the money you have made. Well, but it's still.
It's we. I cannot do the amount of work I do.
I know.
Without your support. And this is what people do not get. And they don't see this. They see me. I'm on video. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. We're doing podcasts. But they don't understand the back house stuff that Joe does that enables me to do work. I don't have to run to the pharmacy and curse out the pharmacist weekly. I don't have to go and take care of mother. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. I have to do these things. That's in my planner. Joe does everything that is orange in my planner.
It's a large section.
It is not.
But no, but still, even though that exists,
right?
Fundamentally, on paper, it's the money you made. Now, granted, your ability to do more, or your ability to work longer, or your ability to work because you didn't have to go do things, very much contributes to that. And it's not that I don't get that. It's just at the end of the day, technically the money comes in to you for what you did. Now, I also understand that, yes, I contributed to that by, so to speak, allowing you to be able to do at least portions of that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to have done. So I get the theory, but at the end of the day, technically, on paper, it is money you made.
Actually, technically, on paper, it's money we made because the account's in both our names.
Well, yeah. Well, but, you know.
But
I'm just saying.
Okay, but what I'm saying is this guy is a hoard. Like, I don't only want to burn his shit, I want to charge him for the damn lighter that I had to use to burn his shit. First of all. Second of all, I'm tired of people not seeing the support staff that is in our lives.
Well, and I don't know that support staff is the best way to describe that. I think we have to recognize that the person you are with is also enabling things in your life.
Right.
That, we have long been in a world in which, in order to make really good money, you have to trade some things off. And another partner that can step in and do those things, or that can hire, a maid, a cook, an assistant, all these other people to allow us to focus our energy on this thing that makes us money instead of this thing that takes our time.
Right. Well, it's like all the time, and this is another thing I want to fucking address because I deal with it all the time with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I may be calling some people on the carpet, and if I am, good.
Mm-hmm.
I always hear, well, he doesn't talk to me. He doesn't spend time with me. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. Okay. But you want a successful man who's putting in 70 hours a week because he just got a job promotion and he's having to do duties on 2 other jobs.
Oh, I'll take it one layer lower. But you damn sure like that nice ass car in the driveway. You damn sure like your nice ass driveway. You damn sure like your nice ass house. You like your full ass refrigerator. You like your yoga classes, and you like your expensive ass yoga pants. How do you think? Like, these things cost money. Like, it's like some people just discover the concept. These things cost money. You have to do things to make money, to afford the things.
Right.
You have to be willing to trade a little bit there. I don't think anyone, and I hope when they call, they're really not meaning that, like, they never ever talk to their partner at all, ever, whatsoever. They're not getting the level that they're wanting. And it's like, but maybe you need to reevaluate and communicate that to them. Right. That, look, honey, I don't care about, the next nicer car in the driveway. I don't care if our driveway has holes in it. I don't care if we live in a 2-bedroom shack. I would rather have time with you than all this shit.
Right. And you see, jobs develop, jobs change. I'm sure I look like a damn asshole boyfriend when we go out to things. I'm sitting there, I've got my phone in my hands, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm replying to this, I'm answering this. I'm doing 40 things on my phone. We will sit down to watch TV. Depending on the time of the day, sometimes I'm on my phone. We've set rules and boundaries, like we have to put our phones down at dinner. We don't use our phones at dinner. I don't care if it's Google recipe or whatever. We don't do that. Dates, we don't take, we don't have our phones out unless it's a work date. And I make it very clear to him, this is a work lunch or this is a work dinner, because I can't take the break, but I want the time.
Right.
But people that are currently going through stuff, nurses, if you're dating a nurse, honey, just shut up. Wait for the paycheck to come in and relax and wait for this pandemic to pass. If you're dating a VP, you want a doctor, you want a lawyer, you want something else, then you better figure out, okay, most of my conversations will probably be over text messages for probably the next 10 years.
Well, moreover, it also sounds like, you wanted a thing without understanding what the thing was.
Right.
Like, and I don't mean to call people things so much as it's not just the person, it's the person plus the job, plus the lifestyle, plus the money, plus the like, I'm calling all of that a thing. Like, you wanted a thing, but you didn't understand what all that entailed. That it wasn't gonna, like, be everything and a bag of chips, and, there's trade-offs.
Right.
Like, you have to make sure you understand when you're, like, you're going to marry a doctor. That's cute. You do realize that you are almost never going to sit down to dinner quietly on time every single night.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just not going to happen.
Right. You want an
Like,
executive husband? You might as well forget about, especially like, let's say he's an executive in retail from Thanksgiving till probably mid-March.
mm-hmm.
Forget it.
Yeah, Brenda brings up in 2 years, it looks like she would have noticed his and his family's high-end spending side. I don't think she was unaware.
So.
I think she knew quite well. I think, however, she thought she could, because, I mean, she obviously took a second job thinking she could cover it.
Right.
I think she estimated or underestimated how much these vacations were going to cost, which is basically what she said.
Right.
I think this is a severe disparity in like lifetime wealth.
Right.
Like her idea of an expensive vacation is like a drop in the bucket compared to their idea.
Well, not only that,
of a vacation.
But I'm going to call Mr. Asshole out for another thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one I deal with quite often.
Mm-hmm.
I dealt with it yesterday. It drives me batty when I deal with it out of him. I'm making a store list.
Mm-hmm.
We needed, what did we need? We needed bread. I needed to pick up some hamburger for tonight. We needed this, that, another.
Yeah.
And I would look at him and go, honey, what do you want from the store? Because there are things I don't enjoy or keep up with. Yeah. I don't keep up with his cream soda drinking. I don't keep up with his tea drinking. I don't keep up with his celery sticks. I don't keep up with what his favorite crunchy snack is at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, I don't need anything. Okay. 5 minutes later. Honey, what do you want from the store? What do we need to get? Ladies, I'm telling you, it takes me a crowbar to get out of him what I need to get at the damn grocery store.
And just go ahead and tell him, what was my list?
You wanted me to get you some teapots. You wanted me... I think that's it. I think I finally got teapots out of you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I finally got out of him. And then I'm in the store shopping. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, they have this in. Clank. What did I come home with?
Like celery sticks and green apple like the green apple caramel cups. And well, but they finally had those. Like, I feel bad asking for those just because it's like the mission impossible anymore. Right. To find the green apples and the because we found out that, oddly enough, red apples, red skin fruits actually have been shown to not necessarily cause, but the tannins in them have been shown to be high enough that they can contribute towards migraines.
Right.
So it's like, okay, we avoid red skin everything now. So, which, good luck. Like, you can get red skin apples by the truckload. Green, however, strangely enough, next to impossible to find.
Right.
But no, like, that one's a mission impossible. The celery I felt bad about because 9 times out of 10 it comes here and dies.
No, it doesn't. 9 times out of 10 it is gone. So either A, you're cleaning out the refrigerator, spot cleaning out the refrigerator, or
I know,
B,
but I've thrown enough of them away. Like, not even while we've been together, but before.
I know. Like, I've got to retrain you from them before. Of course, Fridays and on cold nights like tonight, we're going down to like 5 degrees. I bake. So I look at him because I'm trying to figure out, okay, what am I baking? I want long bake times, or I want easy mixes, or whatever. And I try to keep at least 2 types of cookies in the house.
Start saving them for soup stocks. Yeah, yeah. Well, and here's my other thing, and this is like, I don't know, like, find a soundtrack for this one maybe. there is still going to eternally be a part of me that is the kid standing in the middle of the grocery store who didn't understand, and I'm talking paper, food stamps work, realizing the horrific mistake they just made, because while the general idea of food stamps is that, you use them like money to pay for food, and again, old school food stamps, paper certificates, and they come in denominations like money. That while you do that is technically a correct definition. No one explained the finer nuance that you don't get any form of change. Like, I knew you couldn't exchange them for cash. Like, if you spent $20 food stamp and there was a 5-cent difference, you didn't get a nickel. Somewhere in my head, it made perfect sense that you would at least, like, if you spent a $20 food stamp and there was a dollar and something difference, you would get a $1 food stamp back.
See, and you've talked about this trauma before with me, and I'm sitting here going, something was wrong with that store, because I can remember it.
Here's what happened to me, though, is I am 12 years old, standing in a grocery store, and we only needed a few things from the store. And I had, well, this wasn't my very first time. I had gone, I think, a couple of times before. But we only, on this trip, needed a very few things. And I had spent my food stamps front to back, which, if you're familiar with those books, lower denominations in the front, higher denominations in the back. I had spent them front to back. But we only needed a few things, and I had plenty left. Predominantly in terms of a $100 food stamp. I had maybe $15 worth of stuff. I handed them the $100 food stamp, and the woman even looked at me and said, "Honey, are you sure you want to do that?" And I went, like, I was 12, I was stupid. I didn't know what was coming next. Handed it to her, and she's like, "Okay." And she rings it up and goes, "Okay, thank you, have a nice day." And my brain froze. And I'm like, "Where's my change?" And she's like, "Honey, I can't give you cash back on food stamps."
Right.
I'm like, "Duh." Like, 12-year-old me is like, "Duh, bitch, I ain't that stupid. I know you can't exchange them for cash. Where's the food stamps back on the $100 food stamp I gave you?" Like, you owe me $80-some in food stamps from where I just handed you $100 in food stamps. That's not how this works. And so I'm suddenly realizing that in the middle of the month,
Brenda, I remember the same. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to, like, this story sounds like someone took advantage of a little Joe.
And possibly they did, but I will forever be that 12-year-old standing there realizing I just fucked us for the rest of the month because I didn't know how this worked, and my idea of how it worked was not reality. And I'm just standing there like, I'm going to get killed when I get home. I'm going to get murdered when I get home. I'm going to die. Like, and I have to tell this. Like, I don't, like, it's such a bad fuck up. I have to tell this. That I so totally effed this up. Because I didn't understand, and I didn't even think to ask. Like, it made perfect sense in my brain. Like, the way it was explained to me made perfect sense, and made the next logical step with it to me. But that is not how that store acted. They were like, "No, if it's $15 and you hand us a $100 food stamp, you handed us $100 food stamp. Thank you. Have a great day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they did. They kept the other $85 of value.
Mm-hmm.
And it was gone.
Yeah.
And
But no, they took advantage of you.
Well, very likely, but, still, I was like, I'm sitting here realizing the horror of my stupidity.
Right.
Any which way you slice it, my action, even if what they did was wrong and wasn't how it should have worked out, I'm standing there realizing my action, and this is the 90s, $85 was a lot of damn food.
Mm-hmm.
I just cost our family $85 worth of food.
Right.
I did a severely bad choice.
Right.
That is going to seriously discomfort us.
Right.
For the rest of this month in what our food choices are.
Right.
That was like.
See, I'm checking all the way back to 2008, and and in 2008 they continued giving dollar, not cash,
right,
certificate back to the 99 cents. That's why and then if it was under 99 cents, they would give you the cash change back. That's why a lot of people used to make sure their bill went over that, like $3.37, so that you get the change back to buy their cleaning supplies.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it's the thing that gets me now is that always stuck with me. And it is like, I had to be very careful the rest of that month. I obviously did not get killed when I got home, and granted, my father was horrified.
Right.
That this had occurred.
Right.
And he was very angry about it, but not at me. It was one of those weird times Dad was actually like almost human.
Right.
Like not what I expected. I was like, I'm going to die. He will beat the living daylights out of me. But it would have been better if he had. Like, it would have been, I fucked up. Here's my punishment. It is done.
Right.
I paid my debt to society for my stupidity. I could have more linearly followed that.
Right.
Than the situation in which I knew the consequences.
Right.
Of what I had just done, and there was no undo button to fix it.
Right.
And I'm just like running around with this was like, it's my responsibility to make it whole. And to not never do that again.
Right.
And be very careful, with what you buy and how you buy it. And, are you gonna get that value? Is it worth it? Like, it totally changed the way I thought.
And it did. And, I still have to work with it now a lot. But these are traumas that this asshole has inflicted on this woman. Very much so. And that's the reason I brought it up. And, but no, I battle with him all the time. Like, what type of cookies do you want? Do you want milk chocolate? Because he doesn't like peanut butter cookies. Or peanut butter. He doesn't like peanut butter or anything unless his sugar is really low. So I try to avoid foods he likes. So I asked him what kind of cookies he wants. Oh, why don't you make peanut butter cookies? I'm like,
the fuck you just said?
Actually, I want to say, JB, I'm going to whip your ass. Because then maybe you'll pay attention.
Well, no, I don't want to be selfish. I do, because I also know that the cookies that first spring to my mind are I don't know if we have all the ingredients for that. Or are you going to have to run out to the store and make a special trip? I know we have all the stuff to make.
I was asking you when I was making your store list.
I know, but it's more stuff you've got to buy. Most of the cookies that I like aren't ubiquitous for the entire household. It becomes a me only thing. Or a me and you only thing, or however it breaks down. I'm laughing at Brenda's comment.
Brenda, this is what I deal with. This is what I deal with, honey child. Literally, it's like, Do you want oatmeal raisin cookies again? Are you tired of them yet?
Well, I don't know. What do you want to make? No, and it is like we've joked about it. It is kind of true. And multiple people have picked up on it. I kind of have a mom mentality of, I don't want to be wasteful, and I don't want to take away resources from others, and I'll give up resources for someone else so that they're taken care of. Like, I'm there. Right. It's this weird thing in my head that is like, we aren't joking. I will seriously debate a dollar store purchase.
Yeah.
Like, do I really need $3 worth of stuff from the dollar store? Do I like,
Are you going to use it? Are you going to use it, or is it going to sit in a box?
Do what?
No joking. These are questions I have to ask him with every purchase. Yes, very much so. If I ask a question, I want an answer.
Like, I'm just like, I need to know what you want so I can know whether this takes away from it or not.
Right. And it's like, dear, I don't ask questions I don't already know that we can cover. But this is what this asks.
I want a pony.
You better watch your damn self, or you'll end up with a pony.
I'm teasing. I don't want a pony. No one wants a pony. No one should want a pony. That's what I should say.
And by the way, I fixed his gift peril, so he knows exactly what to get me for Valentine's Day.
Do you know that I'm now getting ads on every page for it?
Good. That way you can't say you forgot.
I know, right? But no, like, this is where my head is. Like, I get stuck there. Like, I will devastate myself trying to fulfill the needs of others. It's a thing I have to be careful with.
Right.
Like, I have severely harmed myself in the past. Because it's like, I pick up strays easily.
The oatmeal raisin cookies is in the Christmas issue of Under the Table and Dreaming. I'm trying tonight the chocolate mint cookies, and I'm going to try a white chocolate mint cookie, a white chocolate cookie. If those work, those will come out in future issues. You may even get a video of them. But again, I'm testing the recipes before I put them out because I'm tired of cooking recipes that just suck.
Yeah, and Devin's cookies sound amazing. The brown sugar cookies with caramel icing.
Ooh, that sounds amazing.
I think that was where Brenda's recipe was at. Just saying, I'm there. I'm with it. Like, if that's where Brenda was, that's where I'm at. Is like brown sugar cookies with caramel icing. I'm in. Like, yes, please. Like, no, it just sounds good. Like, not my forever cookie, but a cookie I think I would like.
Honey, you don't have a forever cookie. Love you, but you don't.
I do. They're oatmeal raisin.
No, they're not.
I'm such a little old lady. I love uniced oatmeal raisin cookies. I dearly effing love them.
Right.
I am horrified when I find out that cookies I think are oatmeal raisin are chocolate chip.
Right.
Horrified. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Right.
Like, yeah, no. I tried.
There's nothing wrong with you, darling. If that's the cookie you want, then fucking either A, tell me, or B, put it on the board.
Oatmeal with cinnamon chips are a really good joke. See, if I like cinnamon more, I think I would really like that. I would try it. I would definitely try it.
Yeah. But, these are weird tics of yours that I'm like, oh, please, good God. Can we just fix this?
No, it's
hardwired. I want an answer.
It is hardwired.
Well, it's like the freaking oyster crackers. Been in a relationship with this man for 4 years. He's ate oyster crackers 0. We go to have tomato soup, and he says, can you pick up some oyster crackers? You would have thought I had bought him the Emerald State Building.
always said I am a plastic house plant in terms of like attention that I need. Very little. Dust me occasionally, leave me in my corner, keep me away from heat sources. Like, that's it. Like, I am a plastic house plant.
And I am an orchid, and you need to remember that.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying. Like, I get really excited about really tiny things.
Actually, I'm more an African violet.
Yes. You will faint at the slightest anything.
Exactly.
Like, that's the one thing I should say that I have tremendous problems with is your lack of a fainting couch. You need one.
I do. Where can we put it?
I don't know, but I was surprised there wasn't like a special area.
There used to be a Chase Lounge in the house, and I love my Chase Lounge.
Like, you have moments where you need to just like have your, I'm getting the vapors and, like you need that.
Every time he eats over the sink or walks out of this house in clothes that should have been put into the duffel bag. Like, I'm having to put clothes in duffel bags now and just hide them away so he'll stop wearing them.
Like, yeah, we should probably point out it is 2022. I graduated high school in 2000. I still have clothes from pre-2000.
Yes.
Yeah.
That are moving to the duffel bag as I get time to shuffle them out.
Yeah, I don't like give up on stuff easily. I really don't. Right. It's like, yeah, it's ripped, it's torn, the fabric's seen better days.
Oh, those have done left the house.
Like, it still covers me.
Those have left the house already, honey.
Some of them.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But, and then I'll totally tell you to be like, oh, throw that out. It has a loose thread.
Yeah.
Oh, it has one little, like, dot over here. You need to throw that out. We'll get you another one. Like, yeah. I would, like, this is the dichotomy of my brain. I will wear a burlap sack until the last thread falls out.
But
I will gladly encourage someone else to be like, oh, throw that out. It has a loose thread. Like,
I know, but, we're still working through these traps and traumas that we work through in our life. But this dude is an asshole. Case closed. Aeson says burn his shit and charging for the lighter.
This is the rich IT guy from the Am I the Asshole, not me.
Yeah.
Just thought that needed clarification for everyone. Oh, sorry. I find it funny.
I find it hilarious.
Oh. But yeah, so that, oh no, what? My husband threw all of my clothes out when we were having our first kid, as in I was in the hospital, and he cleaned out my closet because I'd had those clothes since I was in 3rd grade and could still fit them, and I was in my early 20s. It goes back to growing up being poor. It shows where our money went and that we didn't just waste it. Hell yes.
Hell, and that's perfectly okay. But when the clothes aren't fitting you currently, when the clothes have gotten to the point that they need to be framed because they're memorabilia now.
And
we both go through this, except I hit my midpoint when they fall off. And it's like done.
Yeah, you like yours is like your set point's a little lower.
Yeah.
Like you will like push with an item of clothing, but you have some very delineated like too far. This is it. It's done. It's gone.
Right.
I'm over here like, the worst thing that happens to me is, I lose some weight and I get a tighter belt.
Right.
Like, I will gladly keep wearing those 54-inch pants and, like, 4X shirts. And just like, it's baggy. It's roomy. It's comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, I'll do it. I've done it.
Right.
Like, it's a challenge for him to be like, sweetheart, honey, darling, dear. It's gone.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need it.
Yeah.
It's not helping.
Well, now I've moved to just packing suitcases. That way we can pull them out when you want them, but they're going to the attic.
Yeah, well, it doesn't help. Like, my body does fluctuate a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
That's why they're going in suitcases and not off to Goodwill.
yeah. Like, that's another thing with me, and the reason I probably do hold on to clothes too long is because my body will just, it goes through some weird cycles.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I can change 4 to 6 inches in waist in like a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like it's, clearly obvious it's occurring to me.
Right.
It's just kind of like one day this was comfortable, the next day it was too tight. I don't know what the hell happened.
Right.
Like, it's not shrunk in the dryer. It just, like,
Right.
my body shifted.
Mm-hmm. All right, darling. Hit it, Vanna.
All right. So, of course, we want to thank our Patreon sponsors, Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryant, Ashley Giss, Shannon C, Shannon D, the ever wonderful Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, and our newest subscriber, Dottie the Psychic. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all of the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
Yep. Y'all guys have a great weekend. This is Psychic Saturday tomorrow, so if you want a reading, go check out the Psychic Saturday page on my page. This is the first one of the year. And we will be seeing you on Tuesday with a guest. All right, y'all. Good night, y'all.
Good night.
This is the calm before the storm. You know what's coming, so be warned. You can't